How to stop procrastinating and achieve everything you've ever dreamed of. So imagine for a second being at the end of your life. You're thinking back on how you lived, you see the potential you had as a child, but then how you spent the next number of decades wasting that potential. You chose ease over the struggle that achievement demands. You chose desires in the moment over the overall desire you had for your life. You failed. And now regret and the stinging pain of what might have been is what holds you closest as you near death. This has to be the scariest thing we face. Not death, not lost love, not bankruptcy or failure, but the possibility of regretting how we spent our time while we were alive, while we were young and full of energy. By the end of this video, you'll have a blueprint to avoid that pain. No more putting things off, no more procrastination, just a plan to become more productive, to do as you planned. Procrastination pushes your potential further into the future. The longer you push it to the future, the less likely you are to even come close to realizing this thing that is the truest and best expression as to why you're here. Realizing who you can be, even ought to be, is why you're here. You live this existence by doing as you planned, which is the mark of a great man. Great men aren't more talented, they're not born into a position of money or luxury. Actually, most often, they're born into greater struggle and adversity, or they have it thrust upon them throughout their life. The thing that separates them from the mediocre, from those who die with regret because they never did what their soul called them to do while they were here, is the simple fact that if they set out to do something, they do it. No matter how big or small the task, they did what must be done, what they planned to do, what they internally said they would do. That's the secret of life. To live a good life, one where you achieve things you never thought possible, where you become a great man, even if only in the eyes of those around you. And yes, it is something you can do. Even if you're the biggest procrastinator on the planet, you can become disciplined. Here's how to do it. First, you have to feel the pain. In the intro, I talked about the pain of regret. The Stoics would practice death or be in death to gain a fundamental understanding that someday soon they will be dead. And there's no use in worrying about what they can't control, and there's no use in fearing the inevitable. This practicing of pain has to include regret as well. You have to be in the pain that will inevitably come in your final days, months, and even years when you look back on your life and realize you wasted much of it. Maybe you already have that regret with the earlier portions of your life. Well, be in it, feel it. Be consumed by it. Be consumed by this pain of regret and do it every single day. Doing what you plan to do is completely under your control, and it's the only surefire way to ensure you won't have regret as your final companion. And while the positive is a great motivator, so is the negative. Think about the positive. Think about the greatest accomplishments anyone can possibly achieve, and then put yourself in their shoes if it aligns with your interests. And then maybe you'll come close to understanding just how much can be won by simply doing what you plan to do, by not procrastinating. Also think about the downside. What will happen if you continue to procrastinate? Think of being alone, old and broke, old and never having achieved anything of value simply because you chose not to. Yes, you get to choose whether you die with regret, whether you live a great life, whether you waste your time here. Next, start with 1. The biggest mistake people make when trying to achieve something, even turn their life around or start a new habit, is biting off too big of a chunk. If you've never done a push-up in the morning before, but you want to start doing 100 push-ups, well, you can do 100 push-ups and there's nothing really stopping yourself or getting in your way. It's better to start with 1. Just 1. Just do 1 push-up this morning and do 1 the next. You'll likely do more, but there is nothing stopping you from doing 1. Whatever it is you're trying to do, whether it's get in shape, read more, pray more, eat better, make more money, save more money, start with 1. Start with the lowest barrier you can possibly start with in any area of your life. It's almost magic how quickly you can become disciplined when you start small enough. Next, never miss. Once you set out to do something, never miss. Don't ever take a day off because that will give you an excuse to take another day off. Start small, but once you set out to do something, never stop. If you set out to work out once a week, never work out less. If you set out to read a page a day, never do less. These habits that you know deep down make you a better, more successful man have to become who you are, not merely things that you do. Next, today, this very moment is all that's real. The past doesn't exist, nor does the future. A common question that stands in the way of us doing something is, what's the point? We look at the small action in the wrong perspective. We think about the effect that this little tiny action will have on the rest of our lives. And it's true, by itself it won't have a massive impact, but actions compound. Habits compound. You're doing this action right now because when you've done it enough over time, the effects on your life are really too grand to comprehend. There seems to be a natural law that the better you do, the better you do. It aligns with Pareto's principle and can be applied to everything from the productivity within a company to nature. For example, say 10% of plants in the rainforest get 90% of the sun, or 10% of the employees in a given company will produce 90% of the results, or 80% of the nation's wealth will be held by 20% of its people, and it doesn't really matter what political system you're in. The numbers hold true. The number doesn't really matter. It can be 80-20, 90-10, 5-95. The point is that excellence is reserved for only a few, and not because of birthright, but because of effectiveness. The better you become, the better you do, and the better you do, the more opportunities open for you. I've seen this in my own life, especially financially. Once my company reaches a new revenue high, that high becomes the new baseline. Once I've made more money, investment opportunities have come in droves to turn that money into even more money. For over the first decade of my life in entrepreneurship, I failed. I was moving forward by learning, evolving, being disciplined, course correcting, but the numbers weren't there and they weren't showing themselves. All of these little habits you want to change, this doing what you set out to do every time you set out to do it, is something that won't yield massive results right away, but it acts like a flowing river that's dammed, and your daily improvements, your daily actions, is water being ushered into that river until finally one day the dam breaks. Improve daily, but realize that this thing you set out to do is a must, is something you must do. It's this moment that matters. Any future gains or achievements you want hang on this moment, whether it seems like a big action, task, or not. It all hangs even on the smallest intention turned into action. Finally, follow your interests, but make sure they're genuine. You're trying to be the best you can be. You're not in competition with anyone other than who you were yesterday. That's it. That's the only person you're trying to be. Yet many of us fake our interests to appease family, friends, our culture, religion, people who we look up to. To win in life, you have to do things that interest you. That's the only way you'll be sufficiently motivated over a long enough period. Be true to yourself. When you set out to do something, make sure that this is something that you think you ought to do. You'll be wrong sometimes, but over time you'll figure out exactly what to do and when. You need to do the wrong things a lot to figure out what the right things are. So this is how you defeat procrastination and become a winner, and yes, it's that simple. Even better, the simpler and easier you make it, the more successful you'll be at becoming as great as you can possibly be. And if you like this video, I just made another video on the top 10 books you need to read this year. Check it out here. Reading these will change your life. I'll see you in the next video.